Hello, hello, hello. We have a wonderful guest today on the show. He's Bill Warsgrove and he is a brand daddy. His two loves are branding and dance music. And he is Brighton and Hove person. And so anybody who's listening locally may even have crossed paths with him or danced on the same floor as him. But Bill is an expert in branding. Hello, Bill.
Yeah. Hello, Alison. And Alison, I moved to Brighton 10 years ago and from London, and I moved from Camden, which is a great music place. And one of the first few things I did, because first few weeks I was in Brighton, I felt like I was on a holiday every day. And it was helped by going to sit outside the Brighton Music Hall and listening to you singing beautifully. Do you remember those
Oh,
days?
well, I do. I remember you and
Yeah,
people. I remember Bill because Bill is a soul lover. He used to always get me to sing Aretha Franklin. So I remember you because I could
I
tell
did.
just how deep your love of soul is and how much you
Yeah,
appreciated music. And
yeah,
people like us, we love people like you.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's kind of, there's I do love soul, but I've got a real Aretha and Nina Simone and Betty Wright and some of the great singers, just my father was a jazz lover and he introduced me to people like Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan. So I was introduced to beautiful singers, and that translation of lovely jazz singers into great soul singers was part of my education.
Lovely jazz singer into great soul singers. That's wonderful. That makes me think of something you told me about recently. We could dive straight in, something that you've been working on. Do you want to tell us about it?
Only if you want to talk about it, Alison, it's your gig,
Uh,
it's not mine.
uh, oh, well, I'm interested because you're talking about the crossover between jazz and soul. And I just love that. I love that a lot. And
Yeah.
you told me something. You're going to tell the people who are listening now that you have been playing around with that crossover, have you not?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a designer. So, of course, as a designer, I've been experimenting with AI. Is that what you mean? An AI
Yes.
filmmaking. And so, most
Mm-hmm.
recently, I've been experimenting just with, because I've been a DJ and doing mixes for myself, a DJ, starting to experiment with AI music. And so, I started just playing around. There's a great program called, I'm not a salesman for them, called Eureka. And I put in things going, I take classic jazz tracks and then I try and remix them in like the style of Aretha Franklin or in the style of the Staple Singers or any of the people I love, and you get amazing results. So you're right. I DJ'd recently. I put one of my mixes into my set, and this woman came up and she said, "I love that track. What is it?" I said, "It's a very rare Aretha Franklin track. I don't think it's been released, but I've got exclusive." And of course, it's something I did in AI. It was hilarious.
Well done. That's so cool. What's that software called? Because loads of people are using Suno, and
Yeah.
yours is called Murica.
I prefer Eureka. Suno, I think is, but Eureka's got some. I think it's got better prompts. It's just, yeah, and because I've got good results out of. I think the thing with AI, it's a bit like if you're a musician, you choose a favorite keyboard or favorite guitar or whatever. I think with AI software, you choose a program that seems to suit you. So
That
Eureka
makes
suits me.
perfect sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense. I have a friend who's a client, who's a alumni client who is making so many songs. In fact, just last night on my Free Your True Voice Facebook group, I actually used her song as I talked through it. It was called
yeah,
"I'm Fine, Blessed," and it's all about how people say "I'm fine" when really there's lots going on. A really important song, but she makes so many
yeah,
songs on Suno, but I recognize the voices now. You know, there are some standard voices
yeah,
that you start to recognize as the AI voices of Suno. Is it the same? Have
yeah.
you noticed that with Murico yet or not?
Well, it's you get the same thing if you're doing AI imagery. If you're creating images, I use Midjourney a lot. Is there are some defaults, and you go, that looks like a Midjourney image, and that sounds like a Marika song. But then you've got to think this technology is really early days. God knows what's going to happen in a couple of years' time. It's the Wild West out there. I think if you're playing around in AI, and I'm playing around in AI animation, AI filmmaking, AI music, I do it just for fun. I'm not trying to commercialize it, and I don't think of course, there's all sorts of intellectual property about all of this stuff. I'd never try and sell it. I'm just having fun. It's I feel like a granddad with a new kids box to play in. It's kind of just great. Why wouldn't you
Mhm.
just have fun, explore? I think.
Yeah, I hear
Yeah.
that. I hear that. I hear that. So, talking of Brandad, let's talk about your branding. So, you have been a branding, should we say, expert master for some time, and Brandad suggests that you're not that young. Does that happen to be true? Or are
No,
you just the
Alison.
father of some great
Alison,
logos?
you know that's true. You know the background. I was a creative director at two big agencies in London and my own agency, and then I moved down to Brighton 10 years ago, and wanting to be an independent, just doing some brand and consulting. But when I was working in London, I worked for Curly Porter Bell and Future Brand, two of the biggest branding agencies around, both international. So created lots of brands, and what I've come down to Brighton for is to work much more with local companies and SMEs and personal brands, using all that brand experience to help them to, learn how big brands do it. And so, Brandad, if you can't brand yourself, you can't brand other people. And when I told people I'm called Brandad, they just laughed and went, "That's brilliant." You know, so it's a sort of
It is.
it fell into place.
For those
And
who are listening, they can't see this video on the radio on
yeah,
codesouth.fm. They can't see you, but your logo it looks like you in the most cool way as
it's
well. It's
me.
so good.
Well, the funniest thing is, I'm sometimes walking down the street because we both got a connection with Plus X, and I'm a mentor for entrepreneurs at Plus X. So sometimes I'm walking down the street with my partner, Marissa, and we're being Brighton, and somebody goes, young kid walks past, go, "Hello, Grandad," and Marissa goes, "Do people really call you that?" I went, "Unfortunately, that's my other name." Yeah. So
That's really
if
good.
if you can't brand yourself, get out of the game.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You got to teach something that you actually have skills in. So,
Yeah.
tell us about the music. You've done your musical connection. You were saying that you've done lots of CD and musical artwork, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you also tell us a bit about. Did you say you had a label as well?
Yeah, I did. So I was a terrible, terrible. I was in a schoolboy band playing terrible drums, and what I realized was crap. And what was crap drummers always end up being DJs. So I started DJing when I was in London, and met up with a whole group of DJs. We all loved soul and house and everything. And a group of us, a friend of mine, founded a record label called Seamless Recordings, and I bought a share in it, and we did we were most famous for doing a whole series of albums called bar grooves, which were like chill out albums for Ibiza. So we used to sell 30,000 CDs every summer with people at Gatwick. They'd all go to Wetherspoons, get pissed, and put. But this is before MP3s and all that. But all the covers were done by me. So the artwork was done by
That's.
me.
Tell me the name of the CD again. The
Bar
compilations.
group, bar grooves, and we used to
Okay,
compete
wicked.
against. We used to compete against people like Defected and Cafe Del Mar and all those kind of people. So we did
Uh,
chilled albums, we did Soulful House, and and where we made most of our money was actually doing soundtracks for hotels in Spain and Italy and stuff. And we do for the hotels, we do their kind of chill out room CD. So people would hear the soundtrack, and then as they left the hotel, they'd buy the CD. It was quite a clever business.
Wow, this is clever. Very clever. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. And tell me about your DJing. So when did you start DJing? And what was the first kind of music you played?
Well, I just, it's the funniest thing is the first time I went to a soul club, I must have been about 14. I grew up in the Midlands in Leamington Spa, and I walked in and I heard this DJ just playing Tamla Motown, just Temptations, Marvin Gaye. Tamla Motown is my first love. And I thought, this is great. And he just played and a bit of Northern Soul, a bit of James Brown, a bit of funk. And it was just one of those nights. And I think I fell in love with some random woman who didn't fall in love with me, but that's the way it goes. And I just thought, this is great. And I just then said, I'm going to try this. So I found a record shop, a lovely record shop in Birmingham that always had rare imports, rare 7-inch singles back in the day. And I always used to buy the latest one and then go back to Leamington Spa and then play that to friends and then play that in not even nightclubs, it was even like music halls and town. So I started playing, all my DJing was off 7-inch vinyl. And, just some of my favorite tracks are still from that era. And so when I went to art school in London, I said to the art college, I can DJ. And they said, well, we put on big events on Friday nights for the students. So I started DJing, and just by that time, I still played all my soul and funk and stuff, but I hit London just as punk hit. Uh, and I wasn't really into punk, but the other thing that I really loved was it wasn't just punk. It's also I learned more about reggae. So I started playing soul and reggae sets, which I loved. And so I didn't really, apart from the Clash, I didn't really like punk bands. But I used to go to Notting Hill and just hear some great, you go to basement clubs with the greatest sound systems, and dub is still part of my heart. It's just there's something about it. So the combination of playing soul and reggae and dub and a bit of Latin, and I've never liked DJs who just play one style of music. For me, I've liked eclectic
Mm.
DJs like Giles Peterson, who just plays. He's a bit of a hero, and a fellow
He's
Arsenal
mine
fan, which is
too.
great. He's a fellow Arsenal fan, so of course he's a hero.
Oh, right. Yeah. Do you know, I got a great story about Giles Peterson actually. When I was signed to London Records,
Yeah.
FFRR, I went to Talking Loud, which was over in, the
Oh,
next
great label.
building across.
Great
And
label.
and I met Giles and I said to him, I'm a fan of yours. And he said, I'm a fan of yours. I was like, wow, that is amazing. And then he gave
Brilliant.
me loads of vinyl. I got a whole Fela Kuti collection from him
Oh,
and it was
fantastic.
lovely. It was a special day. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, he's special because I've
He's,
I've heard him play some sets, and I used to go to Dingwalls and the jazz rooms and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes
and
he'd put
me.
on stuff. Yeah, he'd put on stuff and I go, how the fuck did you, sorry, excuse my French. I'm allowed to do that on radio. How did you
It's
put
okay,
that?
there'll be a cow on there.
So, he'd put in, there'd be, and then of course, when early drum and bass happened, he'd play some Latin, then drum and bass, and then reggae, and then back into soul and back into funk. And you think he's taking you on a journey. And that's for me is what music's about. If
Do you know
somebody's,
what? We must have been on the
what
same dance floor.
I
Like
think, yeah,
literally.
I think we have. Well, I think since I've moved to Brighton, I've met lots of people who go, and they've come down from London, and they go, we don't know you, but we think we've been in the same places together, like the
That's
Groucho
so
Club
cool.
or whatever.
Oh,
So
I did interrupt you. You were talking about a musical journey, but I interrupted you.
no, well, I
I
think
think you said that's the thing about.
well, I think you said about with Giles giving you Fela Kuti, you know, some of those Fela Kuti rhythms are just you could play Fela Kuti for 10 minutes, then go into James Brown, then go into Dennis Brown, and then go into Aretha Franklin, then go into a bit of Latin, Fania. It's just it's so rich. It's such a rich source of music, and
You know
also
what?
yeah, what? Tell
And
me
also
what?
you go.
Yeah. Well, it's just I love people introducing me to music. You know, the thing is, I've got this thing when I still do some DJing now down here in Brighton and Shoreham, and people come up and say, can you play this track? And I say, well, where do you want to put the coin? And they go, what do you mean? I said, I'm not a fucking jukebox. No, I'm only going to play the music. I only want to play the
You
music I want to play.
you did the cow again. Where you get see like a jukebox.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right,
You,
this
you,
station
you,
is for children as well.
oh, I'm so sorry.
It's
I,
okay.
I,
I've got
I, didn't,
cow.
I didn't get the full brief. So the thing is, I don't play requests or anything like that. I play. I when I want to put a set together, I'm just thinking about, you know, you're trying to start in one kind of mood, you're trying to lift, and you want to leave people smiling and dancing and all that kind of stuff. A bit like you, I've heard you sing and you're brilliant so many times, and you kind of want to give it a sort of, it's a bit like a good story. you have to give it a good opening. You have some good ch middle chapters, and then a punchy ending. That's the sort of and great films and all that kind of stuff. And I think music, my most favorite DJs, most favorite concerts do that. They just take you
Mm,
on a
mm.
journey, and
Yeah,
that's
it's
what.
true. It's true. It's true.
Yeah, well,
Do
you know,
you
as
actually plan it? Do you plan it beforehand? Do you have, like, some people really organize their sets directly knowing what mixes go together with what and what's going to be their final tracks? Or how much do you plan it and how much do you feel it? Like,
no,
everyone's got
I
their own
think
way of doing things.
the way I tend to do it is I tend to put three layers together of tracks, which I might go for. And depending on what's happening that you feel people's response, and you can see people who want to dance, people who just want to listen, people you just then go, okay, that's working. I'll now turn up that kind of style. You can take that route. So it's a bit like coming to a not crossroads, but there's you've got to choose a road. And once you're there, so no, I think it would be too prescriptive. You may as well just put on a sort of SoundCloud mix. Otherwise, if you're not a DJ, watching people and listening to people, just like and I've seen you perform so many brilliant times, it's you've got to take a response from people and see what's motivating them. I
Yes,
think.
absolutely. I agree with you. I agree with you. Take a response from people and see what's motivating them. So we
Abs
are in
abs
service, aren't we?
yeah.
We're in
Entertainment.
service to others. Yeah,
And
entertainment. But how would you describe branding? So the entertainment bit, the creating music and making sure people have a good time. But equally, that applies to the branding, isn't it? You really want the person that you're working with to just feel fantastic when they've worked with
yeah.
you. Was that
Yeah.
correct?
Well, I mean, people think branding is complex, and I don't think it is. I'm now, that's why I'm the brand dad. I've been doing this for years, and I've created some really big brands. Is that um, I think businesses are data and information and facts and service and products. What branding is, or what brands are, is the stories you tell about that business. In other words, you can have a very functional business, but good branding dresses that business. It communicates it dresses that business with a visual language and a verbal language. And that's what consumers take. They don't want to have the bare statistics of a company. They want to have a persona. So it's a bit like where the analogy with music happens is you're trying to. My son once said to me, he said, and I was explaining what I did because he doesn't really understand, and he's not really interested, but he's a lovely boy. And he said, I said, what do you do? I said, I'm like a fashion designer for companies. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, I tell them how to look, how to talk, how to walk, how to dress. You wrap them in that's what the branding is. The company. I don't have nothing to do with the company because they've got a good commercial idea. It's nothing to do with me. I'm not interested in commerce or functions or all that. I'm interested in telling stories. A brand is a good story. You think about
That's
the
so
most
interesting.
the most successful brands in the world are great stories.
That's really interesting. I'm going to pivot us now because half
Okay.
an hour goes so fast. And I'm thinking about the people who are listening to this show and wondering if there's a way you can encourage them to express themselves. I like to, this show is the Love Transmission, and my brand is Free Your True Voice. And I
Yeah.
really want, as well as this delicious concoction of music that I play, I really want to encourage the listeners to dare to express a part of themselves, or all of themselves, even better.
Mm.
And I find that so many of people are hiding. They're hiding their authentic version of them. They're hiding their feelings. They're hiding their talent. And I'm here to just say, come on, you guys, you have something beautiful. Express it. And so, if that was the case, and there's some listeners out there who have something that they would like to share, but they're holding back, how would you be able to encourage them?
In a branding term, in a branding way.
Anyway, it doesn't matter because there's so many ways. So any way that you could,
No,
like,
it's a great question, Alison. So when I used to work on big international brands when I was working in London, and now I'm working much with smaller brands, personal brands, and SMEs down here. And often until you really get under the skin, you do a brand workshop with them and you really interrogate what made them do that business, what made them is actually the reason they're looking a bit dull is because they've never really expressed themselves. They've been so busy about the functionality of their business, they haven't thought about the explicit what motivated them to do it in the first place. So in a way, part of what I think I'm successful at being a brand dad is to go, why did you start this business? What makes you unique and different? And you're looking a bit dull at the moment. Let's take all the things which are unique about you and bring those to life. And sometimes you do a brand workshop with them and go, and they tell you a story and you go, that's the key story. Why is I didn't get, I looked at your branding and I read your website. None of that came through because they were so busy trying to look like all the rest. And of course, the whole point in branding is trying to look different. It's trying to have an emotional and unique selling point, you know. So, and we, as people, we all have emotional, unique selling points. But a lot of companies and a lot of personalities almost default to trying to fit in. And actually, I think the beauty is not fitting in.
Okay, now this is great. So we have listeners out here who are businesses, entrepreneurs, artists, and things like that, but also anybody. This, what you're talking about, is
Yeah.
exactly why Free Your True Voice exists. It's like, can you
Absolutely.
allow your uniqueness to show? Because so many people are trying to be normal and fit into normal, but that makes life so dull. And if you, sometimes people are saying, why is my life so dull? Why is it so meaningless? And if you can find your uniqueness and what makes you unique, but also I think you were speaking about what lights you up, something like that.
What
Like what
motiv yeah,
makes you.
what motivates you in the first place? I mean, I use it in I'm a visiting lecturer at the University of Brighton, and I give them this thing, and it's a well-known parable. But if you think about it, you had Steve Jobs with Apple, and you had Bill Gates with Microsoft, and they were both doing exactly the same thing, making computers, making software, all that kind of stuff. And and Steve Jobs said, "I'm going to do something different." So he said, I don't want to sell to computer programmers because Bill Gates is winning that market. He said, I want to make computers to sell to creative people, musicians, artists, designers. He said, I want to sell to people who want to think different. So he didn't think about selling computers to programmers. He said, forget about the computer. I want people who use my computer to use it to do creative things. That, in branding terms, is exactly what you want to do. Is what they call jumping the shark. Is don't compete with your competitor, do something different, and actually talk about the benefits, not the features. That's really the trick of branding.
Yeah, I hear that. And what I also hear is this thing about story, like to understand
Absolutely.
story. And sometimes I think, well, I'm teaching when I give my keynotes about how sometimes the fact that we have a story in our life, it can really inspire other people. It can inspire people even. Sometimes you don't tell the whole story, but you tell what you learned from an experience or a story in your life. And looking at your life as a series of stories can be very helpful as well. So that when people are struggling under the weight of life, but they make it into a story, they could also create or design the ending. Like,
Exactly, and I've made some really good decisions in my life, and I made some bad decisions, but it's brought me to this point. And so what I try and do in branding terms with my clients, I'm going, why do you think you're not releasing the full story about what motivated you? Why are you being so conservative about, what is the clever idea? Is let's release let's release this motivation and let's make it motivating to your potential customers. So, in going back to the DJing thing, trying to motivate people to dance on the floor, trying to motivate people in branding to go, actually, I'll be a bit more radical. I won't look like the competition. I'll actually try and break the mold. That's where the two parables come.
okay, I like that. And so I'm bringing you again back to people who haven't got a business, who haven't, I'm not thinking in branding terms, but still that thing about, like, it could even just be on the dating, or like on a dating app, or in so many ways in life. If you can find that part of you is allows yourself to be different and to celebrate it. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Does that
Yeah.
go
Well,
along with?
no, I kind of, if you're talking about dating app, I always have this joke about, when you meet somebody at a networking meeting, you can tell within about a minute whether you like them or not. A bit like when you walk in a house, you can tell to buy it, you can tell whether you like it or not. When you go on a dating app, you can tell in 1 minute. In other words, first impressions really matter. So you've got to make sure your first impressions actually say, it's a bit, I say to clients, what's your elevator pitch? And they go, what do you mean? I
Mm,
said, look, you've got 30 seconds and 100 words to describe what's unique and different about you. If you don't do that, people will forget you. If do you want to walk into a room and be impressive, or do you want to walk in the room and be a fly on the wall? You've got to make a choice. So you've got to impress. And what same with great musicians like you, and with a brand, you've got to dress to impress.
hmm. I hear you. So you had a nightclub, you told me.
Yeah.
Where was your nightclub and when was that?
Oh, it was the White House in Clapham, which was it was a members club, but we had so many great nights there, and I wasn't one of the good DJs there. I was a filler. I think I was the sound check, but we had some great invitational DJs there. But no, it was a great club, and it was a sort of the club was constructed because it was for a lot of people in Clapham at the time used to work in the city, and instead of wanting to go out in the city, we tried to attract them back to Clapham, so they could still have a good night with champagne and Stolly and all that kind of stuff, and good DJs.
Oh,
And it
lovely.
it it
Oh,
worked,
dear.
and
It worked. Okay,
it worked.
I want you to now tell me some songs. I'd like you to tell me what was the first 7 inch you bought? Can you remember?
I
Or the
can
first
remember.
record you bought?
No, I can remember, and I think it's iconic. It was Shaft by Isaac Hayes.
Oh, yeah, that is a great one.
And not only was it, I'd never heard a rhythm track like it, but also it went on to win a Grammy for Best Film Score of the Year. That whole that guitar, the wah wah guitar. It was just, and who is the man? It just, I still love it to this day.
Yeah, okay. And you said, did you not say you DJ'd, was it last weekend, just really recently?
About 6 weeks ago, I'm DJing, and I don't really DJ anymore. I just do it for if friends invite me. No, I don't
Okay,
do it
but yeah,
commercially. I don't do it commercially
I
because
understand that. I
I
understand.
used to, I used to DJ off vinyl, which was loving, but now I DJ off a laptop, which I still think is for me feels like cheating. There's
So
something
tell me
about
this then. I hear you. I hear you. We've adapted. I actually really like turning up to the radio show with two stick
yeah,
drives. I just need one, but I bring one just in case it's.
yeah, yeah,
But it's really fun. So, okay, now tell me a song or an artist that you've discovered in the more recent times, or that you've rediscovered, or a track on an album that pops into your head now, because it's quite hard sometimes for that to happen.
yeah.
But what
Uh,
popped in?
E- Ezra Collective. God made me feet for dancing. It's my track of the year last year. Ezra Collective. They're playing at Love Supreme in about a month's time. I absolutely adore their music because
I'm now
they combine
writing it down.
jazz, and they combine the vocalists are fantastic. So I said I love jazz and soul. I think Ezra Collective. If you've not heard, God gave me feet for dancing. It's a great piece of music, and the whole album is just wonderful.
I
Have you
have
heard them,
played them
Alison?
on the show. Yeah, I have played them on the show before. Well, when we're talking about um, Giles Peterson, weren't we? He's got this lovely label, Brownswood, and
Yeah,
once you get involved with the certain labels you like, they send you
yeah,
updates. So then I go and
yeah,
listen to the playlist and all of that. And so
yeah.
yeah, I have played Ezra Collective on Love Transmission 32 and 12, and I'm
Yeah.
now going to hear the Feet for Dancing one because I don't think I've heard that. So
Do you know
I'll look
what?
forward to that.
You do a great version of that. I
Really.
think listening to you doing God Made Me Feel, you'd love it.
Oh, I can't wait. I don't think I've heard it, and so I'll
Well,
know when I hear it. Mm.
And the other
Thank
thing,
you.
there's not just a track. There's also a label here in Brighton called True Thoughts,
Oh
run
yeah, I
by a
play a
guy.
lot of their music.
Yeah, run by Robert Louis. He's the nicest man, and he's got such a great eclectic, uh, just amazing people.
Funnily enough, that's the other label that I'm on their mailing list that sends me their latest updates. Last month's show, I played two great tracks from their latest releases.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's lovely because they're Brighton as well. I met Robert Louis one time when Mr. Scruff was down, and we all hung out together. That was lovely. Yeah, I used to go to his nights a little bit. Do you go out and dance? Like, do you go clubbing to soul-y stuff in Brighton and Hove or anywhere nearby?
every now and again. I mean, Craig Charles was playing at my Soho Beach House on Saturday, and he was great. But he's quite a commercial DJ. But yeah, it depends. And what's been nice for me since moving down to Brighton is there's a whole bunch of local musicians. Pressure Drop DJ'd last weekend here in Shoreham, of all places. And then, you've got Mick Fuller, who's got Soulshine, which is his show, his radio show, and he's often playing at pubs around Brighton. So I don't tend to go night clubbing much, unless there's somebody very special. Although, do you know what's killing me? If anyone on your radio show wants two Kraftwerk tickets for Saturday night, do you know why I can't go?
Why?
Because Arsenal are playing in the Champions League final, and I had to choose
Oh
between
no.
football and music.
Oh my gosh. Listen, I tell you what, by the time this show is broadcasted, it'll be Tuesday and Saturday will be gone.
Oh
But
God! Oh no!
two Craftwork tickets, it's not going to be hard to give those
No,
away.
don't worry. I'm
No.
publicizing it tonight. Kraftwerk,
Yeah.
because it's weird. It's weird. The two things I loved in and why I love house music so much was that kind of influence of soul, but the influence of electronic music. And if you put Kraftwerk and James Brown together, that was the start of hip hop. That was Planet Rock. That was Africa Bambaataa. Amazing, groundmaking music combining European electro music with soulful singing. Beautiful.
Lovely. I'm glad you've dropped in some of those names and some of those grooves to everything we've been talking about today. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, I would like everybody who would like to get to know you more to find out how to contact you now. So, what's the best way for us to find you, Bill Warsgrove, brand dad,
Just go straight to brandad.co.uk. And
branddad.co.
also,
So that's
and
it's got one D in the middle. Is it
yeah,
Brandad?
the joke is I do brands and I do ads. So it's just one D, Brandad, one word,
Ah,
so www.brandad.co.uk. And on the site, if you go into YouTube, you'll see or you'll listen to lots of the tracks I've been making at the moment. I'm playing around with making music.
well, on the site you've got it on there. Your
Yeah,
music.
yeah. If you click on the
Oh, that's
YouTube button,
wonderful.
yeah, one of the tracks I've done, I did a party the other night and I said, look, let's have fun. So I said, it was a husband and wife they're looking to move down from London to Shoreham. And we'd had a few to drink. I said, let's do a great party game. And so I said to the wife, what's your favorite song? And she said, oh, Wuthering Heights. I went, okay. So I said to the husband, what's your favorite music style? He said, sort of funky grime, that kind of stuff. So I did a track. I did Wuthering Heights in a funky grime mix. And you know what? They love it. And it's been my most popular
Ah,
song on YouTube.
oh, that is wicked. I really look forward to hearing that. Maybe I'll
It's
play it as well.
it's a great party game.
Oh, that is such a fun because they make it in seconds, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. About a
It's
minute.
it's but
Yeah.
we did talk about me singing one of yours for you, but we'll
Yeah.
talk about that after we've signed off.
Yeah. Well, no,
So there we are, people.
sorry.
Go on.
No, I'd love you
Well, no,
to
I'm
sing one.
going to sign off. Go
Yeah,
on.
because AI are used for research, and so I met another singer, another lovely singer in Hove, and I played her one of my tracks. She said, "I do jazz singing, but I'd love to sing that version." So it's kind of as a fan of music, I'm not a musician. I know that, and AI is just a bit of a cheap trick. But if it brings like a remix of saying, I want to hear this track in this style. You can have great fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I like how we've done this interview. We started with AI music and we finished with AI music. I was thinking of playing an AI song on the show this month as well. So it may make it. It didn't make it the last 2 months. So Mr. Brand ad.
Brandad.
Right.
Yeah. One
Yes.
word.
See, I didn't realize. Yes,
One
lovely
D.
brand ad. One
Brandad.
D.
One D.
Yeah, at co.uk. It's been really wonderful having you here on the show. And thank you for being exemplary, I think is the word that's in my head, and offering some suggestions and creative suggestions and some songs and your energy to the love transmission audience out there. Yeah, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you here.
Well, do you know what? You've entertained me so brilliantly ever since your brilliant Red Snapper days, right to dancing on the beach. I just think I've been a true fan of yours. So it's great to
Oh,
talk to you.
oh thank you.
Right.